The U.S. Air Force was flying high in the fall of 1943 with the addition of the P-38 Lightning, a new plane that allowed pilots to reach higher altitudes that were giving the Japanese an advantage. But on September 20th, during a routine bombing mission, Charles O'Sullivan's new plane started acting up. The young pilot fell out of formation and headed back to Port Moresby, New Guinea for repairs.
I looked in the rearview mirror, and there is a Japanese fighter. He's so close, I didn't even turn around and look at him. I saw it in the rearview mirror. I thought, oh.
Sully, as his buddies call him, dove into the clouds as the enemy riddled his wings and engines with bullets. He lost the pilot, but as smoke billowed out of his engines, he realized he was going down into the isolated jungle of New Guinea.
My first reaction was, this is too big for me to do by myself. This is too big. And there came the tap on the shoulder again. It's like, hey, you've been asking for this.
Filmmaker Josh Baxter had been praying for months God would send him a new project when he met Colonel O'Sullivan and discovered his story. Baxter got to work documenting it in the film Injury Slight, Please Advise, that showed at the GI Film Festival this spring. It was one of 200 films submitted, all with the goal of portraying U.S. troops at their best. After his crash landing and a few days alone in the jungle, O'Sullivan started looking for natives and came upon a man and woman hunting along the river.
And I had this hand up like this, and I had my hand on the 45 down here, and I looked up, and there's the guy he either had a spear or a bow and arrow on me. So fortunately, neither one of us fired our weapon.
The natives had just slaughtered a wild pig and were collecting its blood in a bamboo tube.
And then we would hold this bamboo tube about this long and maybe put some vegetables or herbs or something in it and then shake it up and then hold it over the fire.
The tribe was friendly and tolerated him for a few days, but O'Sullivan realized their hospitality was over when the men forced him into a hut he calls the execution chamber.
They started the fire, brought in the bamboo tube. Was a little disconcerting, and I didn't see any other pigs in there. I was it.
He still had his gun and tried intimidating his guards.
I thought maybe they'd been touched by the missionaries. So I was very presumptuous, and I said, you know, God wouldn't like it if you hurt me and do things and so and so. And he said, no savvy talk. And I said, you savvy this. And I whipped the gun over on him, and he, like that.
He finally shot his way out of trouble and escaped into the bush. He was hunted for days and spent the next 3 weeks on the run before finally bumping into an Australian commando unit. The Aussies sent his superiors a telegram that read, "Injury slight, please advise," and offered to fly him back to Port Moresby in their small plane.
We flew for about a half hour, and then the engine quit on that. So then we crashed again.
Remarkably, O'Sullivan did eventually make it back to the port relatively unharmed. O'Sullivan's story premiered here in Washington, D.C. at the 3rd Annual GI Film Festival, a star-studded event designed to restore the luster to America's military.
I mean, you have films that came out that decided to tear down our military, that decided to point out the negative things about what have gone, things that had gone on that were negative. Well, why would you do that in a time of war? That seems ridiculous to me.
Period? I hate this, bud.
Actress Carrie Turner, best known for her role in the TV show Jag, often visits American troops overseas.
When you come home, it's almost like you're angry for a little bit because you want to scream at everybody, you don't get it. That there are guys wearing backpacks in 130-degree heat for your freedom. And you're cutting me off in traffic to get a latte. Really?
Although he never imagined he'd be one of the featured attractions at a film festival, O'Sullivan climbed the stairs of the red carpet with ease. He's 93, and like the other vets at the festival, many of them wounded warriors, he knows no film can accurately capture the horrors of war.
I was scared to death. I thought I was going to die for sure. I was even saving the last bullet for myself, and then I thought, no, that's not the way to do it.
30 days in the jungle, alone, hungry, and hunted. Sully says his conversations with God kept him alive. His plane was discovered in 1993, and O'Sullivan wanted to go see it, but was implored not to for his own safety. As it turns out, he's a notorious legend among the mostly still isolated New Guinea natives. Baxter and his film crew interviewed one native who was a young boy when O'Sullivan shot his way to safety and recalls the story just as Sully tells it, except the locals conclude the young pilot was deranged. O'Sullivan enjoyed a long and successful career in the Air Force. He and his wife had 5 sons.
Life has been very good to me.
Not surprisingly, one of his mottos is never give up.
That message has kind of been conveyed through the entire process, beginning in World War II with his story, and now as we've been able to bring it to the screen, the same faith and determination, that's the one constant that has been in this process.
Now the men are waiting to see where their next adventure takes them. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.